Good evening. This is the Ogden City Council meeting for Tuesday, August 26, 2014. Let the roll call reflect that most council members here are here, with the exception of Chair Heyer, who is asked to be excused, and Councilmember Wicks should be joining us shortly. We will now have Councilmember Blair lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will the audience please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you. First up tonight, we have approval of minutes. First, the minutes of the joint study session and work session of June 17th, 2014, and the work session of March 11th, 2014. Councilmember Stevens.
Yes, Madam Chair, they're correct.
Thank you. Next, the minutes of the regular meeting of June 17th, 2014. Councilmember Blair.
Yes, I have reviewed those and found them to be correct.
Thank you. Next, the minutes of the regular meeting of June 24th, 2014, and the special meeting of March 11th, 2014. And then we're going to pile some more on. And the minutes of the closed session of July 29th, 2014, and the closed session of March 11th, 2014. And the minutes of the regular meeting of July 29th, 2014. Councilmember Garner.
Yes, Vice Chair Gochner, I've reviewed those minutes and found them to be correct to the best of my recollection.
And last, the minutes of the work session of July 29th, 2014. Councilmember White.
Yes, I've reviewed those and found them to be corrected. And with that, I would make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember White and a second from Councilmember Blair. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Our only item on the agenda tonight is a public hearing on the budget amendment for the Harrison Storm Drain Project.
We're going to start with Laurie and then finish with Justin. Beauty and the Beast.
Good evening. The purpose of this ordinance is to increase the fiscal year 2014-2015 budget in the amount of $700,000. This action would transfer $700,000 from storm sewer fund balance to the storm sewer capital improvement account to fund the additional costs associated with the Harrison flooding project. And I believe now Justin can explain the parameters of that project and what needs to be done.
As the council is well aware, we're working on a storm drain project to address the flooding issues that we have all the way from Harrison at Ogden High School that essentially moved to the northwest down to the Ogden River in Monroe. We put together some projected budgets, and as we got into design, we realized, one, that some of the pipes were in worse shape than we had thought. Two, we also realized we had to go deeper to capture the stormwater that's moving through the area. And so that created some additional expense. And we also had an opportunity with UDOT, who has just started phase one of a resurfacing project on Harrison. And next year they'll be in the area that we will be having our project take place. And so we wanted to combine together to help in saving some costs with resurfacing when we installed the pipe to those intersections, and also remove some dip stones, which are essentially drains that just run barely under the road. And if you've been around Ogden on the East Bench, you've seen them on almost every corner. And so they're a safety issue. And so when we can remove them, we like to. And also as we're going around the neighborhoods, we're looking to also upgrade some of the ADA ramps in the area to meet standards. So I have some pictures from the storm that we had a few weeks ago. Put this on here. There's an autofocus there. takes a second. There we go. So this is at 21st and Fowler, and essentially the stormwater goes all the way across the roadway, coming down on 21st Street right there. And I've got a couple pictures right here at 24th and Van Buren. And so you can see kind of in the background this big bubbling action going on. And here's a closer look at that, at what exactly is taking place. You can see they're actually working on a water line right there, but the stormwater surcharged such that the pipe couldn't accept the amount of stormwater coming into it, and it's just backing up, coming out of inlets. And so that's some of the difficulty that we have. The rain event that we got, we probably had an inch of rain in 15 minutes. And so, which correlates to about a 100-year storm event. But in volume of water, it is over 200 cubic feet per second is the volume of water coming down from the drainage area. So that is a very large amount of water. Here, I believe this is over at 23rd in Jackson. You can just see the water. This is after the storm has stopped and it's starting to subside. So, but
Was this a couple Tuesdays ago?
Yes. Yeah, that was a very, very big event. We were lucky that we didn't actually have more water damage. If that storm would have kept going at that intensity for another 5 or 10 minutes, we would have seen a lot of homes potentially being flooded. And so that kind of shows the importance of what we need to do with this project and why. But the additional money has everything to do with some costs going up at construction were more than what we had thought. Having to expand the project to deal with certain areas that if we didn't do now, we would be back fixing later. And then also working with UDOT on taking advantage of having them resurface the road.
So this project will correct the flooding that we had on Harrison then?
Correct. The purpose of this project is we get flooding, we see it on Harrison, but we also see it essentially everywhere west of Harrison going down north of about 28th Street all the way to the river in Monroe. We get a large amount of water that just sheets very quickly down off that east bench, and our storm drain pipes are not sized properly to handle it. Now you can see the roadway, it accepts a lot of that extra storm water, but again, like I said, if this storm would have lasted at that same intensity for another 5-10 minutes, it wouldn't have been, the roadways wouldn't have been able to hold it. So the pipes that we're installing such should handle a storm like this. So if we have a higher intensity, then we would see some flooding in the streets. However, it wouldn't be overtopping the curb and gutters.
Justin, it's probably fair to say that a 100-year storm, this will not handle all the water, but a 25-year storm or a 10-year storm would handle those kinds of things, correct?
Oh, absolutely. In
I
fact,
just wanted to put the disclaimer in there that sometimes we get a 100-year storm where there's no way we're going to handle the water no matter what system we have.
correct. One of the issues I see is every year on Harrison, and it happens 5-6 times a year, we'll actually see flooding on Harrison, and these are cars traveling at high rates of speed. That shouldn't happen on, these storm events that are maybe, a yearly storm. And so, this was kind of an unusual storm, the one we had a couple weeks ago. However, we're seeing flooding when we have minor storms, and so this will correct that deficiency.
Well, on 26th and Harrison, it always pools, but a couple weeks ago, I was stuck out in that, and there were trash cans, recycle bins washing across the street. I mean, there were cars that were not able to make it through because they were uncertain of how deep it was. I mean, it was really kind of a safety issue.
Very unsafe and scary, especially when you're coming at a high rate of speed down that road.
There was everything but a lifeguard.
So of the 700,000, what do you think the estimate of the overrun was, or, a higher bid? 10% of it, or?
It was, I don't think it was
Is
quite.
a lot of it new new projects that we
No,
weren't
some of it was,
anticipating?
I think the construction costs were probably 2 to 5% higher depending on the bid item. A lot of it had to do with, we had to go deeper than what we thought in certain areas. We had conflicts with, we had to be at a certain depth for our storm drain line, and we had conflicts with the sewer laterals coming from home, so we had to adjust those laterals to get through because we were so tight on our depths and our inverts coming off the storm drain. So that caused some of the problems, and on some of the corner radiuses where we were putting in inlets and tearing up the corner so much, we were like, we need to come back and install ADA compliant sidewalks on the corners.
Do you mind doing just a really quick timeline?
Yes.
On how it's going to?
Yes, so we already, because as the storm proved, we needed this done many years ago. We went forward and signed a contract with the contractor pulling out this money so they could get going. Not that they needed all this money, because some of it is for UDOT. So we pulled that out of the contract just to get them going. And so we actually eliminated a couple lines that would connect from Van Buren to Harrison. So we started already. We should be have a large portion of the project done in November before Thanksgiving. And some of that's on weather dependent, but this is a very large, just to give you an idea of the size of this project, over at Monroe by the river, we have 10 by 5 box culvert that'll be getting installed in the roadway, and going up Jackson Avenue right there to 20th Street, we have 72-inch pipe. So we have some big things going in the ground, but we will stop probably sometime in November on the things we don't finish, and then we have to have our portion done before UDOT starts their project, which will be in May, the end of May, the first part of June. So I believe, again, weather dependent, we can start our contractor right around the first week of March. The weather will probably be good enough to go and be completed, so at the point they're completed, we can come right back and pave. So which will probably be about the middle of April to the end of April.
So will the other projects that we are wrapping up in November, will we be able to pave?
Yes,
Get
so-
pavement down? So when
yes.
do the batch plants close? for
Typically,
asphalt?
it depends. We're going to try to get all our pavement done probably about the first week of November.
Okay.
So that they'll have some cleanup and some other things that they'll need to take care of. If the weather's good and the batch plants stay open, we'll continue construction.
Can you review the situation with Ogden High, that you're running the water a different direction?
Yes, so
Aspect there?
in the original CIP, when we had looked at this before, in a conceptual design, one of the problem pipes is that there's a pipe that kind of goes under from Harrison to the east through Ogden High School. And so when we looked at that, we realized that pipe essentially goes under the tennis courts. And so we didn't want to go in and disturb and rip up the tennis courts and some of the facilities at Ogden High School. So we look to keep that pipe, and we'll look to send water down that pipe. The pipe is actually in a pretty good condition. It's just size too small. And so we'll have that accept as much stormwater as possible, and then the remaining stormwater that it won't, we're actually going to divert to the north of the high school and then west down 28th Street to Harrison, where we'll pick up that stormwater, and then we're going to upsize a storm line from 28th Street to 27th Street on Harrison. And we'll be working in conjunction with UDOT at that pipeline.
So that'll address the pooling that you get at the bottom of 29th Street.
Yeah. So, but there still might be, you'll see the gutter run pretty full, in a storm event, you'll see it run full,
Expected, yeah.
but it'll come around, but we'll pick all that up at 28th Street, and which it's happening now, but we're seeing a big pool of water in Harrison, and so we want to pick all that up there, and we'll just divert it a different way.
Is that how we're going to fill the pool at Ogden High?
Yes. Replacement pool.
It might be the old pool that was emptying and causing some of the flooding.
So the $700,000, does it come from the general fund, or where does it come from?
No, it does not come from the general fund. It comes from fund balance on in the storm
Right.
sewer.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing for the budget amendment. If we have any takers, just need your name and address for the record.
Seems there's no movement. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing for this budget amendment.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Garner and a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
And with that, I'll make a motion that we adopt this budget amendment of $700,000.
I second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Garner and a second from Councilmember Stevens. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Gardner,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gochner.
Aye. That passes. Next, we have public comments. Thank you, Justin. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please state your name and address clearly for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no movement, we'll go on to comments from Mr. Johnson.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Council members?
I just want to recognize our recorders because after reading the minutes, I thank you.
They get them to us quickly,
Yes.
too. That's appreciated. Well, we still remember them.
Okay, any other comments? Motion to adjourn?
Moved.
We have a motion from Councilmember Garner and a second from Councilmember Blair. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. And just a reminder that we do have a redevelopment agency work session to discuss changes to agreements with Ogden 20th Street investors.